Welcome to Mine Explorers, episode 69, where we are underground again with Kevin Smith. Now, Kevin and I go way back, at least 10, 15 years?
Yeah,
at least 15 years.
Yeah.
We've been exploring mines together, having adventures, and while I kind of took the pivot into doing mine exploration as a business, Kevin's continued to do it as a hobby, and he's got a really cool day job too. So we'll kind of talk a bit about both today.
Yeah,
Welcome
sounds
to the
great.
show.
Glad to be here. Thanks for the invite. This is great. It's interesting that we've both had our kind of mine exploring hobbies before we even knew each other, and then kind of found each other and started exploring together. It's been a blast.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun. And we've explored in Alaska, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, California, probably some other places.
Yeah,
But
it's been a lot. A lot
yeah,
of fun.
A lot of fun over the years. Cool, very cool. So I got to say, what got you into the hobby?
You know, I grew up going up to Lake Tahoe with my parents, and my dad's a shooter. We'd take the 22 out and go
Nice.
plink the cans. And across the valley where we were shooting was like what looked like a mine, like an adit into a mountain. And like that'd be kind of cool to check out. And so we talked about it, and we drove over there and went in the mine with our old flashlights, right? Remember like the old mag lights?
Yeah,
the
yeah,
D
mag lights
cell,
were the
and
best,
took
yeah.
one of those and nothing else with us, no helmets, just
Yeah.
curious, and it just took off from there. It was a blast. So we started doing mines all in that area, Markleyville, South Lake Tahoe area, and I just kept with it
Wow.
ever since. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I noticed with a lot of people I talk to about it, it starts as a kid, they're
Exactly. Yeah.
young, interested in things, and it kind of sparks a passion, and
It's a
it
sense
just
of
sticks with
adventure.
you. Yeah. Yeah, and it is an adventure. I mean, it's always an adventure. You never know what you'll find. I mean, this mine, I've been in here probably 10, 15 years ago, multiple times, but it's been a long time. And so coming back in, like, I forgot almost all of it.
Right,
There's a few
yeah.
spots I remembered and kind of remembered some of the adventure. I know we had to climb up a rope a little bit, and there was a internal shaft and some other stuff, but aside from that, like, it's all new again, which is fun. So
It's a
you never
blast.
know what you're gonna find.
Right, and going into a mine that you haven't been in a long time, it's like rediscovering those things, right?
Yep.
You totally forgot about it, and you're surprised once again.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. So
Yeah.
even going back out of a mine, if you're going in, you see things in one way, and when you head out, you see something that you didn't even notice the first time.
Completely
It's-
differently, yeah.
It's you never know. what
Yeah,
you're
or you take a wrong turn and you end up in a completely different area, which
Yes,
adds
right.
to the adventure. But
Yeah, and
Yeah.
getting lost a few
Yeah.
times.
yeah, it's difficult to get lost underground, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
I know one of my goals when I was younger and explored a lot was to get lost, like find a mine that was so big that I would get lost in it. And it's happened a few times, but never like real bad, but enough that I've gotten turned around and done some loops a few times,
Right.
which is fun.
Yeah, but if you don't freak out and you just be calm about it, you'll find your way.
Yeah, well, and for me, it was always this mine's so big and cool that I can get lost in it. And that was
Right.
always kind of a selling point. But
They're kind of getting hard to find nowadays, those big ones.
they are, yeah. I mean, conditions have really changed. So back in the 70s and 80s, mines would shut down, and decades before, they'd shut down and they'd just be left really. And then eventually they kind of just, caretakers leave, they're just kind of sitting there. But these days with modern reclamation practices and everything, they're all getting closed. So there's not really new mines that are abandoned. And then the older mines get remined, they get cleaned up, and the states are coming through and closing them. So there's a lot less to explore.
Yeah, and just gravity too. It never takes a break, right? So
It never
we've
takes
been
a
in some
break.
mines, and we've gone back, and it's totally collapsed, and you just can't get in there anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And it's sad because it happens probably every day, right? There's
Yep.
collapses here and there, and these hundreds of thousands of miles of tunnels over the U.S.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, that's a good
it's a
point.
dying hobby in a way.
Yeah, no, there's definitely mines that have been back to that have been collapsed and couldn't get into, or just conditions changed to where really they weren't safe to access anymore. So
Yeah, also
essentially blocked off. Yeah. So you've been exploring lots of mines. What's your favorite thing to find underground?
That's a really good question. I never thought about that. Newspapers are probably one of the most
Ooh,
cool
yeah.
things because they're in such perfect shape. It makes your mind can't wrap around the fact that you have this newspaper from say 1918, which is I think one of the oldest ones I found, and it's in perfect shape.
Yeah.
How does that happen, right? This wood that we're looking at here is just weathered
Oh, yeah,
away.
yeah.
The rocks fallen, and this and you have a perfect newspaper. How does that happen? So that's probably one of the most fun things. And it's got a date, so you know exactly when that was made.
Right. It's not a guess.
And you can read the articles and see what was going on during that time. And, the cost of things was just hilarious to see.
Oh, yeah.
Some like old black and white TV is like $15. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, that's very cheap. But back then it was not.
Yeah.
So
not cheap at all. Yeah. And you've seen those old TVs. They're robust. Like there's some solid craftsmanship.
100 pounds. Yeah. And like a 17-inch viewing space. Right?
Yeah. Nice cherry frame and some good craftsmanship
They
on
don't
the
make
woodwork.
it like that anymore.
Yeah. No, I've had the same experience. There was a mine. We were in Nevada once, and they'd used it to throw garbage in for years. And there's tons of newspapers and stuff in there. And I remember looking through some of them from around then, like 1905 to like 1913, kind of that era. And there's stuff like guns in the back, Colt pistol for $3.99, and
background check,
crazy stuff. Yeah, furniture and different pieces of equipment, mining equipment, ore cars, $50, and it's like, wow.
It's a different world almost.
Different world, yeah. That's cool. Newspapers are fun. What would be your second thing?
Dynamite's kind of neat just because it's, the sense of danger.
Yeah.
And most of it is, long gone. The nitroglycerin has leaked out.
Yeah.
But there's some more modern-ish ones we've been in where it's actually leaking out and pooled in the plastic.
Oh.
So it's very unstable.
Yeah.
But that's kind of always fun.
Yeah. Gives a little more adventure and adrenaline for sure.
Yes, exactly. So how about you? What's your favorite thing?
Ooh, that's a tough question because now I'm thinking about newspapers and that's pretty cool. But I really like well intact shaft stations.
Okay. Yeah.
When you find a good shaft station that's intact, like you can still see, maybe like the signal signs and some of the stuff's gone, but there's still like hooks for equipment and jackets, and you can see like how it was all laid out, and it's in a condition where you can just kind of sit and imagine the cage coming down and guys getting out and unloading. Because, when you're exploring a mine with a group, you often end up sitting at these shaft stations for a long time.
True.
Because you go and you come to a shaft station and somebody rappels down or goes down the manway and you're waiting, and it's a good time to just kind of imagine. So I've spent a lot of time imagining like, the miners coming in and out and loading cars and stuff like that. So I always like the shaft stations. Those are fun. I think I really like, and it's kind of cheesy and simple, but a really well cut drift or cross cut that's just well driven. It's straight. It was done really well, and it's all symmetrical and everything. Those are always fun to find, especially in a mine like this one where it's Swiss cheese and it's all messy, and then you'll find like one nice drift or cross cut that goes through.
Sure, it's that one miner that had OCD.
Yep, right? One miner, yeah. And just good engineering. I mean, the engineering these guys could do, even back then. I mean, we do modern surveys with laser and LiDAR and stuff, and they really line up well with the old maps.
It's impressive.
Change things a little bit, but yeah, they're amazing.
They were almost better than we are now with our modern tools and our lasers and all that stuff. It's amazing what they did with the little they had.
Yeah, and they did. A lot of these guys, like, this is a company mine, obviously, and there were teams and engineers and geologists and stuff, but a lot of the smaller mines you go in, those guys had no education. They just learn on the job. They'd go in and do all the engineering and the geology and everything on their own. And oftentimes at the smaller operations, not only did a small team of, sometimes like one-man operations or two or three, they would also set up the mills and do the processing and everything. So they really had to be really well-rounded and understand all of it, from the engineering to the geology to the processing. So
had
really
big dreams.
Cool. Yeah, big dreams. So let's talk a little bit about your day job and what you do there, because it really ties into a lot of stuff we talk about.
Yeah, it does. There's some interesting correlations with our industries, even though they're completely separate.
Right.
So some good ties. So by trade, I'm a master electrician, and I work for a company that builds substations. Now we're getting to battery storage, which is the new craze.
Yeah.
And then data centers, which is like the biggest and newest craze.
It's huge.
It's insane right now. So,
yeah.
So that's what we're doing. Yeah, nonstop.
Very cool.
Can't find people. It's incredible. The limiting factor are finding people.
Really?
So yeah.
Yeah. So we talk a lot about, AI is driving so much of what we do in critical minerals and copper and battery minerals and everything. And so we talk a lot about, how AI is changing things in the trades and things like that, and how important they are. And it's nice to talk to someone who is an electrician, because we talk a lot about plumbers, electricians, welders, like that's the future. And
It is,
tons of
yeah.
people who are graduating with degrees today, even advanced degrees, will probably end up in the trades at some point.
I would agree. It seems like the trades are going to be the last thing that AI kind of takes over
Yeah.
in a way. So yeah,
Yep.
it's coming whether we want it or not. So
Yeah, so I'm curious, the mining and some of the heavy industries and stuff like you're talking about. I don't know if data centers is exactly a heavy industry, but they're pretty close. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of big equipment and a lot of trades and stuff involved. How do you recruit and retain talent?
it's hard. We go by word of mouth. That's a preference
Okay.
because people, if somebody's going to refer somebody, generally they're going to refer somebody that is good.
Right.
Generally, right.
Yes.
If you
'Cause
go on
their
the street,
reputation's on the line.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they have their name behind it. So, but that's harder to find because they only refer good people.
Right.
If you go out on the street, or you go to use Indeed or other companies like that, you're just going to get anybody. And with AI, which is funny, we're talking about that, people really are inflating their resumes.
Yes.
And it's really hard to kind of figure out who's who. So we go through
Yeah.
the stack of resumes, and we kind of have some questions that we ask them during the interview process where we can kind of weed them out.
Right.
And yeah, so it's very hard, but we go out in the street. Word of mouth is the best, but it's extremely hard right now. That's probably one of the biggest. And it's not just the electrical industry; it's all the trades right now. They need people.
Yeah, they need people, and it's good timing because there are a lot of people who will need to be retrained. But between that retraining from people who are maybe in traditional white collar jobs who are going to trades, there's going to be a gap there. 'Cause
Yeah,
they're going to have
for
to
sure.
learn. I mean, to become a master electrician, how many years of
Yeah, it's
experience is that?
about 8 years for that.
Yeah.
5 to go through an apprenticeship program.
Yeah.
Same with the plumbers, right? So
Yeah.
when you start as a year one apprentice, you're at the bottom of the barrel. You're
Yep.
making $10, $15 an hour, maybe.
Yeah.
That much. And so you're right. So they might go from making a lot to now having to kind of start over in a way and then work their way up over years. And
Yeah.
it's tough, but it's worth it in the end, right?
Right.
But during that period, it's a challenge.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. But I mean, in mining, we're seeing the same thing. Like, we need equipment operators, and that's kind of the most basic, and we can train people. I mean, to be good takes a lot of time, but we can put, butts in seats pretty quickly and get them trained up. But finding reliable, competent people is always a challenge. But then on the geology and engineering side, the United States graduates about 300 mining engineers a year, compared to China, who graduates 10 to 100 times that, depending on which statistics you believe. So there's this huge gap in the mining labor force from the bottom, the people actually running the equipment, all the way up to the people doing the geology and the engineering and all that. And so it's interesting trying to kind of shift. But I imagine a lot of the people who end up making the transition are currently programmers. They're
Exactly.
doing things like that AI will displace, and so they move over.
Yeah, or already displacing.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the critical minerals and the minerals that you're using in these projects.
Yeah, it's a lot, believe it or not. It's an electrical project, but really there's aggregates that will go into all these projects. You've got the foundation that these data centers are built on, right? That has to be all solid foundations and aggregates. You've got all the concrete that's involved, and it's thousands and thousands of yards,
So much,
hundreds of thousands of yards of concrete.
Yeah.
So there is a lot to it with that. It's really literally the bedrock of these data centers.
Yeah.
Is all the aggregates involved. So I imagine in your world, I would assume that that's picking up.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
Lithium as well, right? With these batteries, battery storage that they're doing. If a solar farm, say, is running, it only runs when the sun's up. Well,
Right.
Or the utility says, hey, we don't need all your power right now, so just hold off. Well, that's money that
Right.
they're losing.
Right.
So they're
yeah.
offsetting them with these batteries. And so instead of just doing nothing, they fill up the batteries. And then once the utility is ready for more power, then they dump that power out. So,
Right.
So it is stabilizing things. It's the lithium-ion batteries are making these renewable projects more profitable, more sustainable.
Right.
Because they can fill those gaps where they would be normally not running.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's really interesting. We talked a lot about that, and there's a lot of solutions for it. Storing that kind of providing some base load capacity from renewables through storage. And there's different, gravity storage, there's water storage projects where all day they'll pump water up into a reservoir and then all night it'll run down through turbines. There's different systems, but at the end of the day, battery storage it's expensive and it's it's a lot to set up. And, you know, obviously there's durability issues. Batteries go bad, you got to replace them and stuff, but it's still the most reliable method at the end of the day.
Right now, with the technology we have today, that's correct. And an interesting thing you mentioned about the batteries degrading over time. So that is true. Generally, these are a 20-year product, and when you it is pretty good. But when they sign the agreements with the utilities, it's for a certain amount of megawatts. Well, as the batteries degrade, you can no longer support that megawatt value that you had in your contract. So what do? They call it battery augmentation. And so what happens is every year, every 5 years, you actually bring in a couple new batteries and hook them into the system.
Yeah.
And every 5 years you bring in more and more and more for the life of the project to maintain that, say, 20 megawatt capacity that you can offer. So yeah, so after you build the product, you're most likely going to be back again in 5 years or so, putting more in. And then as the battery jobs just, you know, multiply like they are, there's constant work available just doing battery augmentation.
Is there any supply chain issues with sourcing the lithium, the copper, any of that stuff?
Not right now, but it seems like the U.S. is gearing up for that. I know Tesla just put a big lithium factory down in southern Texas. So it's gearing up. I don't know if they're behind yet, but the batteries are coming. So
yeah.
So I don't know where it's coming from now, but I assume that there's a plan to have them all U.S. made at some point.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, the demand for batteries for all applications, from obviously EVs to, you know, associated with power projects, you know, like you talked about solar, things like that. And then the data centers as well, and all these other things that need battery backups. But as we start getting grid reliability issues due to all those things, people are going to start using them at home as well. And so there'll be a robust consumer demand.
Correct. They are definitely, so over the past 100 years, our demand for power has been pretty stagnant.
Yeah.
And it's only recently with the AI boom started to actually creep up for the first time ever.
Yeah.
And even though it's a little creep, that actually means a lot. Like there is a massive demand.
Yeah. Well, and the capacity, I mean, there's some wild estimates. Obviously, there's a lot of data centers proposed. There's a lot of CapEx that these big hyperscalers have announced they're spending. You know, not all of it's going to materialize, and it won't materialize at the same rates, but I've seen estimates. JP Morgan came out with an estimate that we're going to need 44 gigawatts of new capacity by 2027.
Yeah, and there's no way it's going to happen. No way.
No way.
So, yeah, I think the government needs to deregulate a little bit and, you know, allow some of these companies to build their own power plants for their own data centers, and then the utilities to build more power plants. And you know, like nuclear, I think is still a great option. People kind of freak out about that, but when it's running and running safely, there's almost no emissions. There really is none at all. So it's a lot better than coal.
Super clean,
And we haven't built a nuclear power plant in 50 something years.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. So
there's several in the pipeline now.
Yeah, it's going to come back. It's going to have to. The government's going to be pressured to say okay to some of these things, and they really should have said okay years ago. Right. But,
and there's still a lot of natural gas capacity as well.
Absolutely. Every year it seems like there's more natural gas reserves they're finding.
Finding more, and there's still big basins where they're flaring off excess. So some of that can be captured. But
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the future is really nuclear, and we're seeing that a lot in the industry, a lot more interest in nuclear exploration stuff. It's not like booming by any means, but it's come off its lows, which are like you said, multi-decade lows. The capacity and demand has been very tepid and or declined. And so now it's starting to increase again, which is interesting to see. But,
it is. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, that's a very futuristic talk and a very old mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is an amazing adventure here.
So you're starting out on a trip to go tour and look at a bunch of old mines.
We are, this is our first mine. We're glad we started out doing a tour with you guys on this one.
Thanks for dragging us out and bringing us underground again.
Absolutely. So we've got another 10 days to go. And we're going to be all over Nevada and Utah, so it'll be a good time. We do this every year. It's a blast.
Awesome. That's really cool. I mean, you guys seeing stuff that nobody's seen, and a lot of people aren't likely to see, which is really cool.
Yeah, and we can document it before it's potentially destroyed, or there's a collapse and it's gone forever. So it's nice to get that history in your frames in front of you.
Absolutely.
YouTube or wherever it is. So.
It's valuable stuff, and you never know. It's we walk around in here and say, well, it's been open for over 100 years. It's going to still be open, but you never know. Could be closed next week and collapse, sealed up, whatever, and won't be seen again. So
Absolutely.
it's good work documenting. Well, thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And we'll have some more B-roll as we explore around on the way out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week for episode 70.